Good day, my name is Shahan B. Abdul, and the next topic would be penetrant testing. These are the contents of this report. Number 1, definition. Definition of penetrant testing, its materials. Number 3, principle. And lastly, the advantages and disadvantages. Definition. Penetrant testing, also called dye penetrant inspection, DPI or liquid penetrant inspection, LPI, is one of the oldest and simplest non-destructive testing methods, where its earliest versions date back in 19th century. It is used to detect cracks from fatigue, quenching, and grinding, as well as fractures, porosity, incomplete fusion, and flows in joints. So as the name suggests, yung penetrant testing uses dye to show the location of any cracks, fractures, or any flows in the sample. Next is the materials. Penetrants are classified into two sensitivity levels. The first is visible penetrants, and the second one is the fluorescent penetrants. Visible penetrants represents the lowest sensitivity. It is red in color. Next is the fluorescent penetrants. It is consists of two or more dyes and more sensitive to defects. It is more sensitive to defects because the dye, when exposed to ultraviolet radiation or the black light, it emits a yellow-green light. Yellow-green light. Lobos. It is two or more dyes. So in using these different chemicals, you must assure na compatible sila sa sample nyo para di siya mag-result sa permanent staining and degradation. Next is the principles. The dye penetrating inspection is based upon capillary action, where low surface tension fluid penetrates into clean and dry surface, breaking discontinuities. Penetrant may be applied to the test component by dipping, spraying, or brushing. After adequate penetration, time has been allowed, the excess of penetrant is removed. A developer is applied. The developer helps to draw penetrant out of the flow, where an invisible indication becomes visible to the inspector. Inspection is performed under ultraviolet or white light, depending upon the type of dye used, fluorescent or non-fluorescent. So to better understand the principle, let's say we have this test piece, and this test piece is covered with rust or paint. So the first step is to clean the test piece. Clean it thoroughly until the crack or any flow will be exposed. Then the next step is to spray the penetrant. Let it dry for 10 to 15 minutes. After drying, rinse the test piece with water. Let it dry, and after it dry, use the developer. Spray the to better understand the principle, let's say we have this test piece covered with rust or painting. So the first step in penetrant testing is to clean the test piece. Clean it thoroughly to expose the cracks or any flaws. Then, after cleaning, spray the penetrant into the surface of the test piece. After spraying, wait for 15 to 30 minutes. So, after it dry, rinse the test piece with water and clean it and let it dry. The next step is to spray the developer. The developer is a fine grain white powder suspended in liquid draw out penetrant. The developer is a fine grain white powder suspended in liquid. So the developer is a fine grain white powder suspended in liquid. After spraying, wait, and the remaining penetrant in the cracks will be drawn out by this developer. So the flows of this test piece is exposed. Lastly is the advantages and disadvantages. Advantages. Almost all materials can be tested. Next is the advantages and disadvantages. Advantages. Almost all materials can be tested. You can test metallic and non-metallic, magnetic and non-magnetic, and conductive and non-conductive materials. Simple and low cost for a single inspection. Yung materials and other associated equipments are inexpensive, di masyadong And lastly, the advantages and disadvantages. Advantages. Almost all materials can be tested. So materials like metallic and non-metallic, magnetic and non-magnetic, and conductive and non-conductive materials can be tested. Simple and low cost per single inspections. The materials and associated equipment are inexpensive. Disadvantages. Only suitable for the surface defects. No information about the depth of flows can be gained. Roughly, surfaces are difficult to test.